I used to think I had a lot of friends. 40 years at a nuclear plant, coffee in the shop, jokes on night shift, talking about kids and hunting trips, talking about weekend projects. If you'd asked me back then, hey, Mark, do you have many friends? I probably would have said, oh, yeah, tons. But then I retired. And within a month, I was on a plane to the Middle East for a 1 year contract job at a nuclear plant in the United Arab Emirates. When I finally came home and finally retired, I realized something. All those friends from 40 years at the plant, well, they weren't calling me and I wasn't calling them. It was kind of like I'd never been there. And here's the part that still surprises me. Most days, I'm just fine with that. But it left me with a nagging question. Were those guys truly my friends? Were, or were we just coworkers who shared a building for 40 years? Let me show you what I've learned about the difference between having coworkers and having real friends. So back at the plant, those connections felt real. They were real. We went through long shifts and tough outages together. We shared some very hard days. We shared the tragic loss of a coworker and his family. We knew each other's habits, our strengths, our weaknesses. So when I walked out the gate on my retirement day, I guess I kind of assumed we'd stay in touch some way or another. Well, instead, I disappeared. Within a month, I was in the Emirates, 7,000 miles away. While the guys back home, they were still doing barbecues and birthdays. I was working on the other side of the world. No, no more casual drop-ins. No, hey, you got a minute in the hallway? No shared inside jokes or common history. By the time I came home a year later, the momentum was gone. So, could I have kept more of those friendships if I'd stayed local instead of jumping on that plane? Maybe. I guess I'll never really know. And to be honest, my cell phone worked just fine over there for keeping in touch with my wife and family. There was nothing stopping me from calling and checking in with old coworkers. But that year overseas taught me something important. Those friendships I had for 40 years were real, but they were just work related. They belonged to a different chapter of my life. And when that chapter ended and I vanished for a year, they stayed on that same page. And it turns out this isn't just my story. A lot of retirees are finding out the hard way that their friend circle is really just their workplace. So if you come out of retirement and you realized, I don't really have anyone to call, it's kind of easy to think, well, I must have messed this up. But this isn't just a you problem, it's a pattern. Over the last few decades, men's friendships have dropped sharply. Way fewer men report having six or more close friends. Many more men report having no close friends at all. And a huge amount of our social life is tied to one thing, our job. So when we retire, the structure disappears, and suddenly we discover that most of our friends are actually just people we saw because we had to be there. So you and I step away from work and we realize the whole social structure was built into the job, not necessarily into our life. Now, that doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It means your life changed. The rules changed, the context changed. But here's the twist: when the workplace social structure disappears, some men panic, but others, like me, maybe like you, quietly feel relieved. And why is that? So, if you've seen my other video, you know I'm an introvert. I'll leave a link up here. I like people, I love my family, but I need quiet to really feel like myself. I'm the guy who can drive in the car for an hour with no radio on and feel perfectly content in the peace and quiet. So, after that year overseas, all that isolation, and then coming home to a true retired life, something surprising happened. I missed a few of the guys, sure, but I didn't miss the constant noise. Didn't miss the meetings. I didn't miss the, hey, got a minute at my office door. There was no more constant stream of hallway conversations. Hey, don't forget this, don't forget that. I need to talk to you about this. The quiet started to feel pretty good. But then the guilt started creeping in because the message we hear from society is, oh, you got to stay social, join clubs, build your retirement network. Healthy retirees are always out with their friends playing golf or pickleball or something. Meanwhile, my best Saturday often looks like a slow day at home with my wife, a simple project or two, maybe the grandkids pop in, and then a nice quiet evening. So if that sounds like you, let me say this clearly: needing less noise doesn't make you a bad friend, it just means you're wired a little differently. But even when the quiet feels right, there's another voice that creeps in, the one asking, okay, am I content or have I just stopped trying? So even though I'm pretty content with a small circle of friends, family, I still wrestle with guilt sometimes. An invitation comes in to a dinner or a reunion, a get together with old coworkers. And part of me thinks, well, this is what you're supposed to do in retirement. You should go. And another part of me thinks, ugh, do I really have the energy to go through all that for a whole evening? It's not because I dislike anyone, not because I'm afraid. It's just because the social effort costs more than it used to, and I'm not sure it's worth it. So here's my honest answer. Some days I say no because I'm genuinely content at home. And some days I say no because I'm just tired. Some days, if I'm honest, I probably hide behind the introvert label as an excuse a little bit. That doesn't make me broken, it makes me human. I'm in a new chapter of my life trying to figure out what healthy looks like now. And that's why I think every retiree needs to ask himself a hard question: am I actually content or am I quietly becoming lonely? So, how do you tell the difference between healthy contentment and a quiet growing loneliness? So, there's three questions I ask myself from time to time. And so the first one is, after time alone, how do I feel? Do I feel rested and calmer? Or do I feel a little down and hopeless? The second question is, do I ever wish someone would reach out to me? If the phone never rings, am I really okay with that? Or does it sting just a little bit? And the third one is, when I turn down an invitation, why do I do that? Is it because I honestly don't want to be there? Is it because I feel anxious or awkward? Am I convinced that I don't belong? So, if your honest answers to these questions are mostly peaceful, your days are quiet, but they're meaningful, you feel connected to a few people in your life, and you don't feel forgotten, well, you might just be someone who doesn't need a big crowd. But if you feel empty, if you wake up dreading the day that's coming, if you feel like you don't matter to anyone, well, that's not just being an introvert, that's pain. And you don't have to tough that out alone. Talking to a doctor, a counselor, a pastor, or a friend, that's not weakness. It's a way of saying, hey, my life matters enough to get some help. So once you've been honest about where you really are, then you can start shaping the kind of circle that actually fits this new chapter of your life. So, where does all this leave me? Well, yes, I lost most of my friends when I retired. Going overseas for a year probably just sped that process up. Probably would have happened either way. But I didn't lose my whole life. My circle is smaller now, but it's deeper. I have my wife, I have my kids, my grandkids, my sisters and their families. And I have this little community growing here on the channel. For this season of my life, that feels like enough. I'm not trying to rebuild a big crowd, but I am trying to do a few simple things. I try to say yes once in a while, even when it would be easier to just stay at home. And I try to stay open to a new friend, maybe a neighbor, maybe someone at church, somebody already in my world. And I know I should try to reach out to one or two people from old chapters of my life, old coworkers, old friends from high school. Now, honestly, that's a work in progress. I need to work on that, I think. Maybe not. But that leads me to the hardest part for a lot of retirees my age, giving ourselves permission to say, this smaller life is okay. It's enough. So if you're a retiree sitting in a quiet house thinking, oh, I lost my friends when I left work, is it okay that I'm not chasing a big social life? Well, here's your permission slip from OPA. It's okay if your circle shrank after retirement. It's okay if you don't want to have a packed calendar. And it's okay if a quiet evening at home sounds way better than a noisy room full of people. Just keep an honest eye on your heart. Be honest with yourself. Nurture the relationships that really matter. And if the quiet ever starts feeling like pain instead of peace, then reach out. You're not the only one trying to figure out who you are without the job, the building, the crowd. You're not a failure because you don't have a big group of buddies anymore. You're just a person whose life changed and who's learning how to live in this new chapter. For me, I like to say, I can't act my age. I've never been 68 before. I don't know how to act. So, figuring this out. So, if any of this struck home with you, I'd love to have you stick around, watch some of the other videos. Maybe leave a comment and tell me, did your friendships change after retirement? Did a big move like my year overseas, did that speed things up for you? Are you content with a smaller circle or are you trying to rebuild? Leave something in the comments that might really help somebody else going through the same thing. So, thanks for spending a little quiet time with me today. This is Opa, and I'll talk to you soon.